Hello. I wanted to touch base with you on a couple of issues that are of some significance. As many of you know, in the last year, there have been several incidents where fire and rescue responders have been assaulted and in 2 incidents killed when responding to homes. In April, a firefighter paramedic in Prince George County, Maryland, was responding to a call when an individual's brother said he had not been able to locate or raise his brother on the phone or knocking on a door at home. The brother was a diabetic and that they had concerns for his safety. By the protocol and using the good judgment, members of the fire and rescue community forced entry into the home in an attempt to find the individual. The individual was at home, was not incapacitated from his diabetes, and actually interpreted the response from the fire and rescue providers as an assault on his home. The individual shot at the responding firefighters, seriously injuring one and taking the life of a young firefighter paramedic. Earlier this year in Arkansas, a paramedic responded to a call for an individual having a seizure. When he arrived at the location, the patient was postictal, did not clearly recognize the responder as a member of public safety, and shot at him and did kill that young man as well. Both of these cases are typical responses in our community, and it's important that we find some difference between the types of calls we respond to and the manner in which we respond to them. Wellness checks, or calls when some person says an individual that they know is just not available, they can't locate them, they won't come to the door, they won't answer the phone, is a law enforcement matter in Bedford County. Our communications center will process a call from a friend or relative when they say the person should be home but is just not answering a door, not answering a phone. The law enforcement community will respond and make an assessment. There are times when fire and rescue will in fact respond with them as a supporting agency. However, it is important to recognize that law enforcement is the lead, and they're using their increased thought process and situational awareness to make an assessment as to the safety of the scene. A second call that we'll often have is a medical alarm. Often a medical alarm is activated by an individual that needs help. When fire and rescue responds to the home, they may look in a window or a door and see that a person is laying on the floor or in a back hallway or something. In that situation, that individual is actually inviting us into their home. They're seeking help from the services that we provide. Where it gets a little more confusing is when we respond to a medical alarm, there's been no subsequent phone call, and we get to the home and we don't see any person. This really becomes a law enforcement matter as well, because the question of forcing entry into a home must occur. As I illustrated in the first 2 cases, there were reasons to believe that an individual was actually in peril and needed our help. However, the outcome was pretty drastic in terms of the loss of life of the fire and rescue responders. When we go to a medical alarm and there's no person inside that we can clearly see, there's been no telephone call or no text or any type of communication inviting us into the home, we need to contact law enforcement and let them make an added assessment as to what is appropriate to get into the home. Our most easy one is where an individual actually sees an individual has fallen, or the person calls the comm center and says, I'm in the home, I can't get up, I've fallen, or I'm in a basement, or I'm trapped, as we've had people trapped in bathrooms behind appliances and the like. That case is very similar to what we do routinely. We know an individual is in a home, we know that there is some condition that warrants our response. We use our through the lock or forcible entry techniques to gain entry. A couple of key points really for this entire concept is an increased situational awareness. Living in the times that we're living, where people are often responding with weapons, fearful for their property and their home and their own safety, their response is really probably not shocking to us, though it is very dangerous. So an increased situational awareness on the part of our members is significant. Drawing on the expertise of the law enforcement community and bringing them into play more often on some of our calls, our brothers in law enforcement community have a different skill set and maintain a higher level of situational awareness in these environments. Draw on their thought process and their expertise. If it requires that we remove ourselves from a scene because it is unsafe or we're just uncomfortable and go down the street and stage, that is appropriate. That is not patient abandonment or anything that would put us in a difficult position legally. We are making an assessment for our own health and safety. Request law enforcement more often. And when staging, keep in mind that if you can see the home or the address that you're responding to, they can also see you. If individuals can see you, they can harm you. Often it's better to be a street or two over or a mile down the road in a safe location. As you recall from the incident in San Bernardino County earlier this year, that was a traveling incident. The terrorists went into a building, they did all of the harm that they planned on doing in that facility, and then they went out on the road as they drove through the community, shooting at people and attacking other people. If you are in close proximity to the incident and to the call address, then the individuals perhaps can harm you. Wise staging will be very beneficial. As we look at the medical alarms, wellness checks, and requests for assistance, we see that there really are three very different things, and we need to be responding in three very different ways. If you have questions and need more input on these informations, please reach out to us. We're certainly willing to discuss it. Thank you for what you do. Please be safe out there, be strong, and be Gopher Strong.